Hi, Jasmine.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you. Is that less cloudy?
Yes.
Cool.
Yes. Hi, Rajiv.
Hiya.
Just made you a panelist as well.
Great. I'm just finishing off the.
Yeah, no worries. Just add. I just need to. Well, I think there's a few people already joined a bit early. I'm just going to go and get my charger to charge my laptop as well, so I'll be off screen for a second.
Great. Can you hear my wife singing in the background?
Sadly, no.
Okay.
Please tell her to sing more loudly.
That's probably a good thing.
Hey.
Hello, hello.
Hello, hello. Yeah, that's a good mug.
A good mug, did you say?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, it's got even better stuff in it, which is...
I know, that's why I mentioned.
sweet coffee.
Are you drinking whiskey, Tom?
Not really, not yet.
My better stuff, I hope it's whiskey.
I got a nice whiskey selection set from Jackson for Father's Day. 5 different whiskies from around Scotland, Ireland and Wales, because I'm about to start 5 days in a row looking after him whilst Lucy has her operation. So I'll probably need one of those every night just to get me through.
Nice.
Absolutely.
I've never seen a Welsh whiskey.
Yeah, I've actually had it before, the Welsh one. It's a bit ethanol-y, but some people like that flavour.
You're really selling it to me.
Yeah.
The Welsh started brewing way before the Scottish.
Yeah. The one that is in is Penwyn or something like that. But yeah, it's a little bit ethanol-y for my taste. But
because Bijou loves single malt, and I was best man for his wedding. I've been Indian. I scoured to find the perfect gift, and I found that one of the few Indian single malt whiskies. And the night before his wedding, in the penthouse suite at the Scotsman Hotel in Edinburgh, we opened it and drank it, and it was the most revolting thing. A gift that took so much care and attention was a complete waste.
Excellent. Cool. So it looks like there's a few people that have joined on already. Some very good friends of ours: Tom, Keppel, Victoria, Jonathan. Nice to hear from you. Or thanks for joining in, I should say. So we're just waiting for, I think, Ahmed to join us, and then we should be able to start in about 5 minutes. I guess we should. The big elephant in the room is, how's everyone getting on Father's Day? Especially being asked to do a webinar on Father's Day. How did that go down?
It's been all right. I went out to the park and this morning for a couple of hours with my daughter, so she's happy.
Oh, good.
She's happy, I'm happy.
That's the best way. What about yourself, Tom?
I went and saw my old man. So 3 generations: myself, my dad, and my little boy. And we just messed around in the garden for a bit, and that was nice.
Socially distancing, of course.
Yes. Yeah.
Miguel, yourself?
Yeah, so as I told you already, so not only is Father's Day, but also today is my wedding anniversary. So it was a good choice. Thank you, of day. And so I had to make sure I woke up really early to make up throughout the whole morning and everything. So that now they both went for a walk, and so that's it. So that's good.
Tom and I are going to send a nice bunch of flowers to your wife to apologise for just not even being considerate on a double one.
Wine as well, whilst you're at it, Midi. Please, yeah.
Yeah, no worries. My wife.
Send one to me as well.
Oh yeah, no problem. Jasmine?
I'm all good. Don't worry.
Fine. Okay, cool. Amazing.
What about you, Midi?
Huh?
What about you?
So I got breakfast in bed.
Oh, amazing.
I had a menu, so I had to choose how I wanted my sausages, and yeah, it was pretty impressive actually. The fact that I had to ask them to come and sort it out was slightly different, but that's fine. And then I just listened. I literally, in between our little first meeting and now, I just cycled up to the park. So that's why my glasses are a bit steamy. I cycled up to the park, and I've left them in the park with them on. So yeah, that's us. Cool. Well, I guess we can start doing our intros and welcomes because it looks like more people are joining now. Obviously, it's a Sunday afternoon, so we really are grateful for people giving up their free time to come and join us. This course or this webinar was exclusively for SmileFast users. Now, some names, I hope Tom Keppel doesn't mind me dropping his name in it, but Tom has done a huge number of SmileFast cases already. But the interesting thing is that some people have done no cases. So what we thought, Tom and I, is during the lockdown, we thought, well, how can we improve? How can we sort of work on SmileFast as a concept? And I think talking with the rest of the clinical team, we realized there are some things that we take for granted that probably our delegates aren't 100% sure on. So today is a super informal, super chilled, laid back presentation style. It's not a lecture. So much like the SmileFast course isn't a lecture, this isn't a lecture. It's just an opportunity for everyone to ask the questions that they wanted to ask, or even some suggestions. So if you guys have thought of something that you think will actually improve or help SmileFast, we're really happy to hear it. I don't know if you all know, but SmileFast is actually just a year old. So we got on our Facebook all the alerts from our inaugural course a year ago. So the journey we've been on in this year has been absolutely amazing. And we're very fortunate that we're now in a position where we are expanding. And to that end, I'm going to be shortly welcoming and introducing the latest members of our clinical team and going from there. So I think, Gary, you're going to be shocked. I'm actually early and on time. Can you see that? Can you see that? I'm actually a minute ahead of time, so I'm very proud of myself. So without any further ado, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just ask Gary, I've dropped him in it, and I'm going to ask him to just say a few words about SmileFast as a concept. And then today is a clinical thing, and then Tom and I will take the lead and we'll share our screen from there.
Hello, everybody. My name's Gary Dickinson. A lot of people know me from CFAS and diplomas and from being around dentistry for many, many years. I can say that one of the most fun journeys I've been on is this SmileFast journey with Thomas and Mide. We started it a good few years ago, and it's just been crazy, and it's been the most well-received product I've ever launched. Just what it's done for dentists, and you'll meet some more of them today, Regine, Jasmine, Ahmed, and Miguel, that are working with us. But the amount of dentists and patients it's worked for already in such a short period of time is humbling. So you're going to learn a lot today. Myself and my wife, Joanna, who runs the office here, we're here to make sure you get what you want and what you need from SmileFast. We're here to hold the clinicians to account and make sure that everything's delivered that we promised. So don't be afraid to get in touch with us. We'll have contact details at the end, but both me and Joanne have probably spoke to you all at length anyway before. But we just want you to know we're always here when you want to chat. So back to you, Mide.
Thank you. So just quickly for the panelists, I've made everybody co-host now. In terms of any content that you need to share or you'd like to share, please feel free to give me a shout and you should be able to access that. So yeah, thank you so much, guys. Before we start, I think it's really pertinent that we talk about, the current situation. So we're all in it together. We're all in a state of flux, trying to get back into work. Today's going to be informal. So again, I'd like the panelists to sort of get involved and share how they found their return to work. Any tips that you guys have got for the delegates as well, feel free to share with the wider audience. Today is going to be, I'm going to start off with a very short presentation. It's about 20 minutes, and both Tom and myself will lead with that. Then we're going to go on to actually showing quite a few different clinical cases today, some of which are super straightforward, some of which had a couple of little twists in them that we feel are useful for people that start to use SmileFast. Today's only going to work if there is participation, okay? So please, guys, and feel free to ask the questions. On the bottom of your screens, you should have a question and answer section and also the chat section. In the chat section, you can ask any sort of informal things, but if you have a clinical question, please use the question and answer section because it allows us to answer in real or live time, okay? So if you can just do that for me. So I'm gonna make a start with the presentation now. Can everyone see that okay? Can I get a thumbs up? Good, okay. So I can't see everybody just yet, 1 second. Okay, good. Right, guys, so first of all, I'd like to welcome everyone once again. Most of you have already been on a SmileFast course. Quite a few of you have already done your first SmileFast case. Those of you that haven't, as I said, this is a quick refresher of the clinical procedures, but also it's really a question and answer session for you guys. The whole presentation is going to be recorded, and we're going to make it available for everyone. So obviously I'm going to start with myself, and you know my journey, but I'll mention it again. It's just, I'm a general dentist like most of us. I thought I was pretty proficient at composite bonding, and it became the mainstay of my clinical practice after teeth alignment. So I would straighten teeth and then invariably build them up in composite. The issues were really clear to me, which is time and also consistency. And that's where SmileFast came in. Now, because of coronavirus, more than ever, Tom and I and the group team feel that we need to think of an alternative. We need to have another plan. So I'm just gonna, without any further ado, I'm gonna hand over to Tom to just say a little bit about his journey.
Cheers, Billy. So yeah, thanks everybody for joining us today. I know it's Father's Day, so we appreciate all the dads here and also all the wives who might be getting in trouble for not being with their partners on Father's Day. So we're all in the same boat. So yeah, we appreciate that. So my journey, as you know, is pretty much the same as Mide's. General dentist, working a private practice. Time is money, unfortunately, more so now than ever. With all the increased costs of PPE and the fallow time between patients, time is so precious. So whereas we started looking for a way to get enhanced clinical results with an improved time frame in more predictable ways, that was where we set out as our goal. Little did we know right now that is the most important thing, is to be able to deliver something that's predictable, that lasts a long time, that the patient is very happy with, but is also very time efficient, because you don't have the time now to keep revisiting and tweaking and playing around week after week like you once did, because it costs so much in lost time and in PPE. So now more than ever, as Mide said, you know, to be more efficient and to be more predictable is where we really need to be. So you all know me, you met me on the course, but we've obviously got our new clinical team with us. We're very happy to introduce them. So we've got Jasmine Piran joining us, and each of them will introduce themselves individually. Miguel Polonia, Rajiv Ruwala, and Ahmed Samir Tadfi, who I don't know if he's on yet. He's got a little baby, so it might be that there's some baby related duties to be done. And then we've got obviously Jo, who most of you have had a lot of communication with in the office. She's the first point of contact for lots of things. So she's here looking after us as always. Gary, obviously. And then we've got the support team behind SmileFast. So there's Jeff Caddick from the lab, and he's probably the person that you'll communicate with when you have a lab question, you need to find out about certain things, or what can be done, what can be achieved, how you can tweak the system to fit in with a particular patient. Jeff's very knowledgeable for all those things. And he also does some practice visits along with Adam Robinson, who's the ex-rugby player who we have. And he keeps Mide and I out of trouble when we go out on a night out. But also he's very good at doing practice visits and support as well. And then we have our sort of technician team, our ceramists. So it's a combination of digital designers, ceramists, long-term laboratory technicians, and they're all involved in the design of the smiles and the provision of the final stent that you get. So that's Michael Caldicott and Zolt as well. So they're the guys that you might have had a conversation with at some point. So that's the whole team. So we're all here together. And now we'll carry on with this presentation. I don't know if I can control this. No, I can't. No. So yeah. So this is, just one of Mide's quotes that he loves. The definition of doing, of stupidity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. And I found that out, with my little 2-year-old, trying to tell him not to do something over and over again. It doesn't work. You have to mix it up. You have to try something different. You have to try a different technique to achieve the results that you want. And that's exactly where SmileFast came from. What we know is that adhesive dentistry is the way forward. Okay, it's where we're at. Less and less people are doing the traditional ceramic type dentistry because the materials, the composite materials, the adhesive materials we use are so much better than they used to be, so much more aesthetic, so much more beautiful. The quality of the material and the result we can get is so good that it now is becoming our favoured material of choice. And especially now more than ever, if you can do something there and then in surgery rather than have to bring the patient back for another prep appointment, it's so important because time that we've allocated in surgery is so precious now. So that's where we're at. But this is a problem that goes across all of our dentistry. It doesn't matter what level of dentistry you're working at, whether you're a BACD accredited dentist or a new dentist just starting out, we all have the same problems. And that is that trying to achieve beautiful anterior cosmetic dentistry is incredibly difficult and it's incredibly time consuming. And it doesn't matter whether you're a seasoned composite dentist, even then you make mistakes and you have to get the patient back and you need to tweak the shape and change the color and review things. And this is just one of those cases. I was writing articles on composite and I was running a course on composite and I did this case and it was 2 central veneers and I wanted to turn it into 4 composite veneers. So I removed the old ceramic veneers and it was a trauma case and I wanted to rebuild the teeth in composite. And so I did it using a traditional layering approach, built the platal shells and then put the dentine layer in, the translucencies and all that stuff. And this case, it came out beautifully and I was really, really happy with it, but it took me 5 to 6 hours of clinical dentistry. That was in the preparation, the actual day I provided the smile, and then the following appointments for the final finishing, shaping, polishing, and all the photographs and stuff like that. So yeah, we got a really lovely result, but it was incredibly time consuming. And I charged too low for this case. I charged to enable me to get the pictures for my presentations and for my PowerPoints and all those kind of things. So that's why I charged low. Had this been my regular dentistry that I was doing all day, every day, I would have had to charge almost the same price as ceramic veneers because of the time that was taken to get to this point. And so then you have to think to yourself, well, if you're charging the same as ceramic veneers, then really, could we not have done ceramic veneers? They probably would have held their luster for longer, maybe a little bit stronger, so there's lots of pros and cons with composite versus ceramics, but the main pro is the time saving factor. That's the point of using composite. But if you can't achieve those desired results and save the time, then you're heading towards the ceramic route. So this is really where SmileFast came from. We wanted to find a way of achieving beautiful results that were time efficient, and therefore we could bring down the price. So it really is a new pathway for composite smiles. There's a lot of beautiful pictures that we see on Instagram. We're in a generation where everybody posts everything, and we get these very artistic photos like this, and it looks quite nice. But when you actually start looking at this from a really critical standpoint, and this is where it's so important to have a strong laboratory team behind SmileFast, they automatically see this. Us as dentists, it takes us years to learn this, but because that's what they've been trained in, that's what they see. They put a grid over it straight away, and they immediately can see that the centre line's off, the incisal edges aren't symmetrical, that the teeth are different length, we've got more lateral tooth on one side than the other side, the incisal embrasures aren't balanced. So this is, you know, a beautiful photo until you start to look at it really critically, and then you realize actually it's not a very good aesthetic result because of this misbalance. And it's very, very hard for us to freehand achieve beautiful balance and get the golden proportions just correct, get the length to width ratios just right by freehand, especially when we're using multiple matrices and trying to build it all out of composite. It's very difficult. And so a digital pathway, a digital solution is definitely where we want to be, because it can be planned for us, and the golden proportions and all the correct heights, widths, gum levels, that can all be planned digitally. And then all we need to do is deliver it to a patient. Now, obviously DSD has been around for a long time, and they're very, very good software at doing this type of digital smile design. And we've got digital everywhere. And that's the thing, digital dentistry is everywhere. We've got digital dentures, we've got digitally placed implants, you know, with guides, we've got scan bodies, so we can actually then create our restorations. We've also got digitally placed endodontics and endodontic access cavities, which is incredible. SmileFast Indirect is our version of the digital guided ceramic makeover. So it follows the same pathway as original SmileFast, but rather than delivering composite at the end, you deliver ceramics. And so we can integrate the digital pathway into our ceramics as well. We're working with Tony Knight and his team are very, very skilled at this digital pathway. So that's something that we'll be developing in the future. And then as soon as we've got a nice course ready for you, we'll let you know about that. And this is the issue, and this is the same thing that I mentioned earlier. Our patients, more than ever now, probably can't afford ceramics. They've just had 3 months off work. Some of them may have been furloughed, some of them may have not have been. They may have lost all their money that they spent on a holiday, they might not have been refunded. They still want their smiles, they still have that desire to look nice. All this communication we've been doing over Zoom, everybody's been seeing themselves smiling a lot more than they used to. They're probably all thinking, my goodness, I really need to get my smile sorted, but they haven't got 10 grand in their pocket to do it. And as clinicians in this time, we certainly can't be spending 4 to 5 hours for our bonding. So this is the solution that SmileFast offers. It's a more affordable solution for our patients, and it's a more time efficient solution for us as dentists. Just let the slides catch up. So we've got SmileFast Direct. Okay, so this is what you will, most of you who came on the course have all been introduced to before. It's the revolution in the direct composite smile makeovers using our stent-based system. So we can take a case from this, which is our 70-year-old patient, to this, and that was just 60 minutes. So it's a very cost-effective solution, and it really does have a wide application in our dentistry. As far as we're concerned in SmileFast, cosmetic dentistry does cover the 3 main areas, which is orthodontics, ceramics, and composites. And in most cases, there is a little bit of all to play a part in our dentistry, whether it's alignment of the teeth first, whether it's replacement of some posterior restorations with ceramics to help stabilize the bite, and then replacement of anterior restorations with composite for a more cost-effective solution. So there's a little bit of everything in it. The problem is that currently all the available solutions that are out there have been very expensive, and they've been on a case-by-case basis, and therefore the laboratory technicians that are doing them are charging a lot of money for these cases. Additionally, the way that it's been taught in the past is to use flowable composite. So you're compromising on the actual material quality itself and the strength and the aesthetics of using a flowable composite in comparison to using a paste composite. So extra cost involved in the design, extra cost involved in the manufacture, and then actually a mechanical cost by using inferior materials. So it all adds up. So it becomes more expensive and actually not of the highest quality. So Mide and I looked at what needed to be improved in the systems that are out there and worked very hard at trying to focus it down to 4 main points. What are the 4 things with everything that's out there already that we need to improve upon to make something that's better? And we needed it to be more predictable. We needed to know that what we showed the patient, what we trialed in the patient, was exactly what we could deliver, okay? Because we need that predictability if it's going to go to all the dentists in the country. It needed to have the ideal material properties. We knew that we had to use a paste composite, okay? We needed the mechanical strength and the beautiful aesthetics of anterior, long-established anterior composite, okay? It had to be easier, because if we overcomplicated it and made it more complicated than what was out there, then nobody would want to do it. It had to be easier. It had to be faster, because that's the only way we can therefore make it cheaper. And cheaper is so important. It's cheaper to the dentist and cheaper to the patient. And so we came up with this acronym FAST. So F is fully digital pathway. A is additive dentistry where possible using paste composite. S, simplified method. We can make it more simple, and we can make it more accessible. It therefore becomes efficient. Treatment efficiency is what is going to make it cheaper for us as the dentists, and also to offer to our patients. And that is the FAST and SmileFast. Okay, so it's one concept, which is delivery of beautiful smile makeovers accessible to everybody. And the 3 solutions are ceramics, composites, and orthodontics. They're the 3 ways that we can deliver beautiful smiles. Now, today we're focusing on the composite part, which is the SmileFast Direct. The other components are within SmileFast, and as we said on the lecture, in time we will be introducing those to you. Okay, so again, this is just SmileFast breaking it down into cosmetic dentistry that is orthodontics first, primarily, if we can straighten the teeth and do some tooth whitening, and then moving on to either an indirect system or a direct system using ceramics or composite. So that's how the SmileFast pathway flows, okay? And I think Jasmine's going to go into that in a little bit more detail later. And it really is the revolution in direct smile makeovers, because as we showed you in the course, and as I've demonstrated, you know, when I post on Facebook, in most situations, you can provide 6 veneers or incisal edges or partial veneers in 60 to 90 minutes. And that is with our SmileFast Direct pre-separated stent. And we have actually got a little video which some of you may have seen and some of you may not have seen. This is the video of the placement of the SmileFast. In the early courses, I don't think we had this in. So this is a real life patient. The stent has been heated like we show you. We've filled it with heated composite. We've etched and bonded the teeth, isolated them with PTFE, and we're placing that stent over the teeth and holding it down for about a minute. And the excess heated paste composite is extruding through the evacuation vents, okay? So we're just holding it there, and a minute is all that's necessary. You just give it a little jiggle so that it seats, and once it's fully seated, your assistant will then start curing, okay? And each compartment needs to be fully cured. Because of the separating strips, the light can't transmit through, and therefore you need a good 1 minute cure on each compartment. I think that probably the bandwidth is causing the video to lag a little bit. There we go. So we're just curing, and then the stent is removed, and the stent's made of 3 parts. Those of you who have been on the course will know this. You have a rigid outer carrier, which stops you from being able to compress the stent too much so that you can't deform the veneers, okay? It's then got an inner clear silicone. Now that's what carries all that information and anatomy from the digital wax up onto the patient. And finally, it's got those separating strips. And when you remove it, you have to be careful with those separating strips, because sometimes they can remain between the teeth. So you have to be very careful as you remove the stent. And then if there are separating strips between the teeth, you remove them separately. And that's what stops all the composite from connecting together. And then it's just a case of polishing, very, very minimal polishing around the edges. Any excess composite just flows over the gums and can just be broken away. On my screen, that video completely froze. I don't know if you guys got it or not. But I think that probably that's enough from me. So I'll pass you back over to Mide, and he can pick up and carry on.
Yeah, apologies, guys. On my screen, it was fine, Tom, so I'm not sure if that was the case for everyone. But that video is available on, we've got a Google link, which Tom and Jasmine are going to spend a bit of time showing you where all the clinical information is. And as Tom was just saying, the finishing protocol is really, really predictable and it's simple. Again, you've got to follow step by step. So we've created this burr kit. Those of you that have been on the course, you'll have seen the burr kit. It is really advisable that you have the kit to hand if you're going to do this. Just because if you miss one step out, it just becomes a bit more tricky. So try and follow it step by step, and it really does become very predictable. So what cases can you treat with SmileFast? So since you've got back into practice, some of you would have seen cases and thought, oh yeah, that could be a SmileFast case. And then you may have thought, oh, I'm not sure actually. So use this guide. And again, we give you a laminated sheet with these photos on them. So use it as a sort of an aid memoir, just to sort of refresh your memory. One of the main indications for composite is tooth wear. Tom and I were speaking to quite a few people on the continent, in Europe, and there's a massive movement towards resin as the first choice now above ceramic for tooth wear. And it stands to reason, it gives the perfect mechanical properties for wear. Okay, so apart from the aesthetic components, mechanically, composite is brilliant. It's more forgiving. So first line treatment is going to be composite in many cases. And again, I'm sure you remember this case. Build up the incisal edges, get the right aesthetic result on the facial surface as well. And that's the thing with composite. Doing composite freehand is not that difficult on the palatal surface, but it's the aesthetics and the primary and the secondary anatomy that we're looking for that's really hard to do freehand unless you're a really skilled clinician and you do this all the time. Again, another source of tooth surface loss, so acid erosion. Again, a huge problem. And you see this a lot in young people as well as older people. So where you've lost enamel, really you want to, in the most minimally invasive way, you want to restore that. So composite's a fantastic choice for that. And again, that's sort of witnessed by this good case here. Okay, composite bonding. Now, again, those of us that do this routinely, we'll all have that dilemma or that debate in our head. Are we doing an edge bonding case or are we doing a full veneer case? I know that a lot of people would probably say, oh, edge bonding is the way forward. But I have to be honest with you, in my hands, if I do an edge bonding case, at some point I get staining where the join of the composite is. And I'd like to open that question to the wider audience. Can everyone please sort of give us their feedback, maybe in the question and answer section or in the chat, just maybe a show of hands. How many of us prefer edge bonding over full facial veneers and vice versa? I'd be quite keen to know what everyone thinks. But me personally, if I'm controlling my restorative margin, I want it close to the gum, because then I've got a full surface of composite on the facial aspect, which I can then control, I can polish. Whereas if I do an edge bonding, unless I prep or I do an infinity bevel, sometimes you'll get a noticeable join. And again, this is the case of, you know, taking that margin, and we're talking about really, really thin amounts of composite onto the facial. So we're not talking about millimeters at all. We're talking, you know, fractions of millimeters, but just carried over the facial aspect. Again, so this is an example of a more minimal case, but again, you've got to be careful where you join your margin. And if you look really closely, although it's a great case, you can see where the joins are. So again, you have to be careful with your prep. This minimally invasive infinity bevel is essential to try and mask that. And again, the case that we showed earlier, an older patient, okay, you can, with a mass of composite, mask some mild crowding and mask a mild malalignments. So again, a really big aesthetic improvement here using composite as first line of choice. So again, as a recap, we're going to be assessing these cases from the beginning. We're going to do a wax up digitally. We're going to take that and overlay it over the teeth. We're going to assess the teeth and say, well, how much composite are we adding to these teeth? Does that look like what we need? Do we have enough strength of composite over those teeth? These are all things that the technical team assess and decide on. Do we need to prep the teeth? Again, if you've got a massive tooth showing through your ideal wax up, then you know it's a prep case. And then finally, delivery or provision of the composite makeover. So just going to go through a couple of cases now. So looking at this case from there to there, and how do we go about it? We've taken a lot of feedback from everybody to try and understand the bits that weren't so clear. With SmileFast, we thought we'd made it simple, but there are some things that we appreciate we could make it clearer. So first of all, we use a really good composite material. If you're not comfortable with Ivoclar Empress Direct, I would advocate or urge that you try it. There are lots of excellent composites out there, and by all means, you could use your own composite. But we've done a lot of research, and we feel very confident with both the composite and the bonding system, and also just the aesthetics of it. So not just the mechanical properties, but the aesthetic properties of Empress. And again, if you're going to do this, you will need to look at investing in the right equipment. As part of the starter kit, we give out a more basic heater, but we would really recommend for anyone that's going to start doing this fairly soon to look at buying this attachment to the Bryant heater. This is made from, I think it's titanium, and it takes the right temperature and it makes it consistent throughout the little seat for your stent. Okay? Aluminium, thank you.
Really aluminium milled out of one block.
So yeah, there you go. So yeah, that's something I really think you should look at. Okay, so just to refresh, going back into stages. So stage 1 of SmileFast is the design. A lot of people have said to me, do we need the SmileFast design stage? Well, I think it's important, particularly when you're starting out. The two good things about the design stage is it allows you to find out if your patient is serious and if your patient wants to go ahead. So before you commit anything financially, the alternative would be a wax up. If you pay for a wax up, that's it. Your patient's committed. But before that, for a very small fee, £49, you can get a design made to show your patient, and you can get a treatment plan to discuss with your patient. So take your photographs, your impression or your scan, and just fill in on the portal, which we'll go through a little bit later, how you or what your patient's looking for. As much information as possible, guys, is really important. If you don't give us information, then we're sort of just going with our thoughts, which may or may not be relevant for your patient. We reviewed the case, we assessed the options, and we'll give you some solutions. So as Tom alluded to, we're going to introduce the whole clinical team. So Jasmine, Miguel, Ahmed, and Rajiv, all of who have a particular experience in each of the disciplines of cosmetic dentistry. So again, I'll let them explain their particular interest, but as part of the clinical team, we will all look at your cases and we'll discuss it together, and we'll give you some options. That's not to say that it's definitive, you still choose, but key point, guys, there will be some cases, and there have been cases which we've had to reject because they're just not within the scope. Okay, from that smile, you get your augmented digital smile, you get a provisional treatment plan, and then you can sort of follow from there. With experience, I think we'll admit that some people will not or may not need the design stage, but I'd urge you for the first few cases, follow it through, get used to the workflow, and try and get your team involved. So it doesn't need to be you delivering all of this bit. So design, we assess, take the information, and we digitize it. Okay, so that's the ideal aesthetic outcome on a digital basis. Then we look at it. Okay, so you can't just slap composite on. You need to have enough thickness of composite, otherwise it's going to chip. You need to have enough thickness of composite if you've got a dark underlying tooth. Can you mask that composite? And these are things that Tom, myself, and Jasmine and the whole team would look at in a 3D angle. So we'll spin the model around and look at it and say, well, is there enough thickness here? Is there enough aesthetic clearance there? Again, we need to assess these things. Once it's approved, we send it to you to confirm, and then we go on to the next stage. So this stage is non-negotiable, okay? Some people have asked us, can I go straight to the final stage? That defeats the whole concept of SmileFast. You can do that, but if you're going to do that, you might as well just do it freehand and guess, because if you guess and the patient doesn't like it, then it's your problem. With SmileFast Refine, it allows you to talk with your patient and build their interest in the end result. It also allows you to it's a get out of jail card. So if your patients, because I had a case that I just finished just before lockdown, it wasn't a SmileFast case, a freehand case, and she felt the teeth were too long. Although I'd measured them and measured them and measured them, she felt they were too long. And I spent a whole session just adjusting them. Why? Because I didn't get her informed consent as to what she was looking for beforehand. I eyeballed it. So this is a real get out of jail card, but it also allows you to find out what exactly your patient's looking for. So this is what you get back with your SmileFast Refine. You get your solid 3D printed model, and you get your putty matrix. So those of us that don't do this commonly, it's as simple as if you were doing a single temporary crown or a temporary veneer. You take a nice shade, usually an A1 or a B1 shade of temporary crown material. I recommend Luxatemp because it has a really nice luster. and you place it into your stent. If you've got something like a fixed retainer labially, or you've got a bridge where you've got undercuts, please block out the undercuts, okay? Because the temporary crown material can get under them and just take a bit longer for you to clean up the excess. So you can use something like wax on the palatal, or you can use something like PTFE tape, just something that blocks the temporary material from going underneath those undercuts. Okay, photographs, document it. I'm sure those of you that are on the course remember me saying this. I take the photographs on my camera, but also on the patient's phone. Why? Why do we do that? I'm sure you remember. It's because the first thing that patient will do is they'll share it. And they'll show it to who? Their mum or their partner. And nowadays, more than ever before, they'll put it on Instagram or social media. And that is the best form of marketing for you, because it's unsolicited, it's the patient's opinion, and they're excited. At this point, what does she say to me? When can I have it done? Okay, so it's a positive reinforcement of she's having the right thing done. She knows that she likes it. She now wants to move ahead. But on the flip side, what if she doesn't like it? The first thing you'll be able to do is you'll be able to see it in her eyes, and she'll say to you, "Oh, no, something's wrong," and then you can pick up on it, and it allows you to prepare yourself. I'm sure you've all heard of the mirror test. So you have a patient who holds a mirror really close up to their face. Those are the patients where you need to charge extra, because they're the ones that are going to give you the biggest heartache. So again, in all seriousness, it allows you to assess their expectations before you go ahead and deliver. Serena, you ready?
Yeah.
Would you like to have a look at your SmileFast preview? Have a look.
Oh, wow.
How they look.
Yeah, really nice.
So the things that we're looking at are the length.
Really natural.
Yeah. So the things that we're looking at first is the length of them.
Mm-hmm.
And you know where you mentioned about the shapes on the side teeth, is that sort of corrected it?
Yeah, the canines look less scary.
Yeah.
And the naturals look better as well.
Good. I'm just going to move on from there. Tom, did that play okay, that video?
Yes, yeah.
So yeah, record those guys, because again, A, for consent, but also speech, sibilant sounds, and also for yourself. When you look back at the video, sometimes you see something that you don't like. So SmileFast Direct, this is what we're talking about. It is a high quality alternative to ceramic. And this is the stent. It looks simple, but there's a lot of research and development gone into getting this right. Because when you do anything digital, any slight adjustment to the model affects the whole efficiency of the whole thing. So we're really proud with how efficiently it works now. And as I say, Tom, we've probably done about 3 or 4 different prototypes to get to this point, haven't we?
Yes, yeah.
4 until we actually.
And we've had a huge amount of input from various clinicians and lab technicians and everything. So we really have maximised the materials that we're using.
Okay. So just going through this case clinically now. So as we know, you assess the case, you assess the patient, you prepare the teeth. Isolate the gingiva where you can. We've done quite a few cases now where if the gingiva are too tight to retract, we haven't been placing the PTFE tape. What that tells you is if the gums are too tight, it's unlikely that the excess composite will go down into the sulcus. So actually you can finish equigingival. So again, if you're not confident or you feel that you're unable to get right underneath the gum, then you can miss out this stage. However, when you can, it's better to, because it gives you a really nice physical barrier and a visible barrier. So when you're polishing, you polish straight to your PTFE tape. You load your composite as normal. You place it in your heater, your Bryant heater, and with aluminium, not titanium. And then you place that into the mouth. So as the video showed, there is a technique to it. You need to seat it down positively at the back and at the front. And then with your fingers, you just sweep around the labial surface. That really encourages the composite to come out in excess. And there you have it, composites placed nicely. Then the finishing protocol. So again, that's something that, just needs a bit of experience. We've got some extra videos that we're going to sort of release and show you on the step-by-step finishing protocol again. So you follow through, you tidy up your margins, and finally you take away your PTFE tape. Don't be alarmed at this stage. It looks obviously like it's really traumatic, but that's just the vasoconstriction of the gums being released. And within a few hours, it settles down to look like this. So
that's a year later.
So this final one's the review photos, but again, just step by step, and look at the consistency from the digital to the final. That's really what we're trying to get at here. You can't do that easily freehand. There's lots more information, guys. As I said, this is just a quick refresher. Please keep an eye on all our social media posts, and also keep an eye on our website. We're getting more and more active on Instagram. So again, we really encourage you guys, when you've got cool cases, please share them with us, or share them directly onto the SmileFast on the Instagram. It's also an educational tool, because it's really nice for people to see different types of cases and different indications. Now, this is a slightly different case. So this is my normal workflow. So we start off with assessment and diagnosis. So this is Daniel, and he doesn't like the gaps in between his teeth. So it could be just an additive case. But what we did was a mock-up and a digital design, and the teeth, the central incisors would have been massive. So he didn't like it. So we said, no, that's not the right case for you. So first off, we go to smile assessment, and then to space distribution or redistribution. So this is Daniel after 4 months of alignment. Really, really simple, straightforward stuff. So again, I know that most of us do this day in, day out anyway. So this is our day-to-day workflow. You get the teeth in a better position. From there, whitening, and then we deliver the smile. And that's SmileFast for 4 teeth. Why did I do 4 teeth? Well, because the shape of his face and the digital design, I actually did 2 designs with him. I did it with 6 teeth and with 4 teeth. And sometimes you'll assess it and you'll feel that you need 6, sometimes 4 is perfect. So again, assess each case and plan it. There is a but with this case. So I'm sure you noticed after we whitened, his teeth actually became more opaque, and you can see the underlying fluorosis and discolored dentine. So when I placed the SmileFast initially, I was getting too much shine through from his underlying dentine. So we made a decision together. I showed him, I placed the SmileFast, and I did very small minimal preps just onto the excess dentine show through, and I used the same stent to mask those bits. So what I did there was place the composite onto the tooth, put the stent back over, heated composite, put the stent back over, and cured it. And then simply polished back. And
Mide, should we quickly just go through the process of doing new composite onto old composite, and how to prepare the surface?
Yeah, we've got quite a bit to get through. So if you want to do it quickly, but yeah.
I was just going to say, because this has happened to me as well, occasionally, because you are using single shade, occasionally someone's got a fluorosis white spot or something like that, and you do get some shine through when you come back to the review. So if you do need to go back into the composite, you just use a round burr, cut into it, bevel the edges, okay, sandblast it, and then you need to put a composite primer onto the composite first. Now GC do a composite primer, and you just let that onto the composite, let it evaporate, and then you just bond onto your new composite as you usually would, cure it. And please, if everybody takes home one bit of information from this, please remember to seal your composites before you do anything else. So as soon as you're happy with your final shape, seal them with KY jelly and give them a really, really good cure. And that's what's going to stop them from picking up stain. And I also would advise one question to go into the dietary analysis. Do you like turmeric or turmeric, however you say it? And if your patient loves that stuff, perhaps composite is not going to be the best solution for them, because it seems that people who use a lot of turmeric in their diet do get a lot more staining on composite than everybody else. So it is something you need to ask them in their sort of pre-treatment assessment. Okay, so just remember those two key points. Ask about the turmeric, and also please seal every time you do any composite or any addition to composite. Okay.
Good point, Tom, especially the curing, because I had a case, you remember early on when the same thing happened to me. So sealing your composite as soon as you finished, and glycerine is just as good as KY jelly. It needs to be something that's water soluble. So yeah, glycerine or KY jelly are great for that. So you cure through and make sure you get a really good seal. So yeah, that's the case after. And I just put a quick video. It's not particularly essential.
You can send it to that. After you, man, look.
So this is
ready?
Daniel at the end.
Yeah, okay. Go for it, man. Oh, wow. That's it. What do you think? So honestly, the shape was perfect. It was just, they look so natural as well. Oh, good man. Just getting that translucency hidden that could take it more time.
Okay, guys, so basically just put that on there again, because it's really important, guys, you know, in this day and age, Tom's alluded to it, everything is going digital, okay? Get as much content from your patients as possible, because that is going to be your best marketing tool. And those videos and things, give it to your patients afterwards, okay? Ask them to post it, ask them to share it. You know, that's how business is going to grow. Those of us that are sort of working, you know, in the cosmetic dentistry, I've noticed a big upturn in patients at the moment. Rajiv's going to talk a little bit more about marketing and how sort of he's marketed this, but you know, it's word of mouth, but it's not what we say. So use your patient's experiences to promote your business. Finally, we talked about the website and the portal. Both are accessible from our standard website there. We're going to go on to a little bit more about that. All right, guys, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. Good. How was that, guys? Was it all good? Sorry, we've got a lot to get through, so we're trying to make sure we've covered everything. I'm going to ask the panelists if you can all unmute your screens now. And so I'm going to introduce everyone. The handsome chap with a beard is not Diego Maradona. It's Ahmed Tafi, who's just joined us. I love that look, man. If I could grow a proper beard, I would do, but so I'm just going to move on. I'm going to start with Jasmine. So Jasmine, obviously welcome to the SmileFast lecturing team. Would you like to say a bit about yourself and what you are bringing to SmileFast?
Yeah, sure. Thanks very much, Mide. So my name's Jasmine. I work in central London. I've got my own clinic. It's a private clinic, and I'm passionate about cosmetic dentistry, but especially minimally invasive cosmetic dentistry, often combined with pre-alignment if needed. And I just think that the SmileFast system is fantastic because of the fact that it enables you to achieve predictable results. It's the predictability that I think is so important, and freehand is great in an ideal world, but it's so difficult to achieve, especially at the moment. Especially, I don't know how many of you guys have been in a situation in the last couple of weeks since we all went back where you had to do anything like this, but I had to do some emergency repair work in the week, and my goodness me, it was absolutely excruciating, and it's something I've always loved to do, but it was really hard with all the recent like PPE and the shield that I'm wearing now and everything. So yeah, I think this is the time to really jump on this as a system, because I think it's going to really help us all.
Thank you, Jasmine. Next, Miguel, would you kindly say a few words?
Yeah, definitely. So basically, I work at a mixed NHS private practice for a corporate, so it is a little bit different the way that things are restarting really for me, dentistry-wise and seeing the patients. But my interest is more with orthodontics. So I have an MSc in orthodontics, and I was never. I am a general dentist as well, and I was never very confident really in improving a patient's smile, and especially definitely not in a restorative, because I was a NHS dentist and not doing anything else. And it started with some CFast courses, I started enjoying really improving the patient's smile and everything. And the biggest problem and how it fits my practice basically was that I had to offer the patients, okay, for me to improve your smile, we need to do some alignment first, which I can do, and then I will have to refer you to someone else to do the restorative part. And then obviously I met Tom and Mide a few years ago, if you don't mind me saying, in a ski trip, and became really part of the family, and knowing their personal and professional quality. Basically, that's I registered on the first SmileFast course, and straight away from the beginning I saw this is an amazing complement to what I do, because I can now offer within pretty much the same treatment plan as well, both the orthodontic or the alignment part of the teeth, and then the restorative part as well. So that's really in a very, very predictable way, and with great support also from the team. So that's pretty much it. That's really good.
Thanks, mate. Ahmed, would you like to first explain your designer goatee and then tell us a bit more about yourself?
Yeah, so the designer goatee has been forced upon me through PPE. So yeah, I'm Ahmed Sami. Most people at uni would have known me as Sami. Graduated from Birmingham in 2014. I actually met Tom on a bulk prize winning competition in Italy, and it was a group of 12 of us, literally as if we all came out of the same pea pod, all geeks with composites and stuff. And from then on, Tom and I kept in touch, etc. And he'd send me pictures of his work and I'd send him pictures of mine. And then I realized his work was just ridiculously good. So I stopped sending him anything. But basically, yeah, as Tom and you guys already mentioned, the SmileFast is not there to say that we're not good enough or that we can't do it, but it's there to assist us. And I like to think of SmileFast as the wheel. So we have, at the start, wanted to go faster. So we invented the wheel, and this is the wheel for us. It's still the same quality. It will still get us from A to B, but in a quicker and more reliable manner, if you like. And the consistency that comes with it, even the very best, like Thomas, it would tell you that it's going to take a lot of time to be perfect every single time. So why not use the wheel? Why do we need to go back and walk when we've got that assistance there? So it doesn't mean that, you know, we're not good or we don't want to be good. It's actually something to simplify our lives, especially in this day and age. And that's me.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. And last but not least, Rajiv.
Hi, everyone. I'm Rajiv. I run and have 2 large mixed NHS practices. So a general dentist. I've got no formal qualifications with anything else other than general dentistry, and that's the way I like to keep it. But I really liked SmileFast from the get-go. I think within about 5 seconds of understanding the concept, I was on Mide's case to try and get me on the course as quickly as possible. So that's pretty much how I could see it. I've tried all sorts of bonding techniques, from stents without separators to freehand and all sorts of other weird and wonderful techniques. But the reason I love SmileFast more than anything else is its simplicity. And I think I've always had a passion for trying to bring great dentistry to every dentist. And that's why I like SmileFast. It's completely predictable. I've been showing associates who are 1 year qualified how to use it, and they can get great results with it as well, with a bit of supervision. But the whole idea of SmileFast and its predictability and its quite frankly its ease of use, I think is going to be revolutionary in bringing great quality dentistry to every dentist. I've no shame in saying that my hands are nowhere near as good as Tom's. I don't think many people's are. My dentistry is good. It's not excellent, and I could never freehand do anything to the standard Tom does. But SmileFast has already improved my basic level. So that's pretty much where I'm coming from.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. And as Tom alluded to, this is obviously the clinical team, but we're supported by an amazing, amazing team. I'm not sure if you saw Joe earlier, but Joe is the cog that runs the whole organization. So everything that we do, you know, we're very fortunate that we have a good team behind us. So please do get in touch with Joe first of all, and also from the lab and that side of things as well. We've got Jeff Caddick and Zolt and Michael Caldecott, as Tom said as well. So again, we really want it to be like a family. So if you've got any questions, nothing is too difficult. We're here to help. Rajiv, you've got a couple of things that you'd like to share with us. I think you've got a case and a little bit on marketing. So I think you're the co-host, so when you're ready, you can start sharing your screen.
Sure. Just give me 1 second. So I'm going to just share my screen here. Tell me if you guys can see this.
Yep.
Yep.
Great. So it's just a little bit about me. I don't really want to go through that, but it's just a little beginning slide. I wanted to go through a case, just a case. And I wanted to go through it through my eyes as a dentist rather than, and as somebody who wasn't there from the concept, who went on the course and picked it up and is using it. That's the reason I wanted to show the case. And I actually saw Matthew before I had gone on the SmileFast course. So I was going to do his work freehand. And then I loved the course so much, I decided to, on the first case, just go with it and try it with this guy. I charged him virtually the same amount, but I'll go through my fees at the end anyway. And this is Matthew, really. So Matthew has very healthy teeth, completely unrestored, came to see me as an NHS patient, and he hadn't been to the dentist for years, so he just wanted to check how healthy his teeth were. I sat him down, looked at his teeth, and they were absolutely healthy. There wasn't really much there. A couple of restorations that were slightly old. But when I actually spoke to him, he wanted to do something about this. And he had a friend who had seen me had closed some gaps with me previously, and he hated his gaps. He really, from a young age, despised them. He actually asked me if he could have braces done, veneers done. He actually asked me if he could have an implant in that gap, which is obviously impossible. He's quite willing to try anything to reduce these spaces. Luckily, we were thinking about doing some orthodontics, and with him, some tiny bit of pre-alignment would have been useful. But eventually he decided that he didn't want to do the orthodontics. And eventually we decided just to do some composite bonding. Now, just to remind you, I saw this patient before SmileFast. So in my head, I was planning on doing this freehand without a wax up, which I've been doing for years and years. I know that closing a diastema without a wax up like this would be a challenge, let's put it that way. To get it dead center would be difficult. And I wasn't exactly sure what this gap on this right-hand side would look like after I free-handed bonding. I thought I could get it closed, but I wasn't 100% sure. I did tell Matthew this, and he was okay to have a little gap. But after I did the course, I was like, well, let's plan it. Let's see what we can do. Let's see if we can actually visualize this before we even start. So I'm just going to flick through a few photos here. So there's some gaps. They're relatively well distributed spaces, a little bit heavier or a little bit wider on the right hand side. Big old NHS amalgam restoration that will need some work at some point in the future. And a really lovely guy. So the first thing we did is we did the design. And this was the first design that came back, actually. So I actually got this design probably about 12 hours after I'd finished the first SmileFast course, because I was like, on the course, I thought, oh, this might work. Let me send this design off. And this is the design I got back. When I looked at it, I wasn't 100% sure about it. I thought the teeth looked slightly feminine, a little bit too round. And I knew that Matthew wanted probably something a bit more bolder. So I sent an email and got a second design. This is the second design with a slightly squarer look. I'm not sure which design you guys prefer. I actually preferred this one slightly, though I'm guessing quite a few people would like that as well. Quite easily, I emailed these to Matthew, and he decided to go with this second design, which was great. I was happy with that. We got him in and we did a trial smile. Oh, he had done some whitening in between, so I forgot to mention that. So the teeth went very, very white. He was very religious with it. And this is the trial smile. So this is Luxatemp as well. I used B1 Luxatemp star here. And as you can see, these gaps are completely gone. The proportions of the teeth are excellent. The right canine, yes, is slightly bigger than I would have liked, and that's where the pre-alignment would have made it a little bit easier. But I don't think anyone could say that that is not an aesthetic smile at all. So these are, again, a few more with the lips closed after we had done the treatment. Sorry, let me go back. So we went ahead and did the SmileFast treatment. I used, again, I think BXL Composite because he had gone that white. And you can see that the finished result, and this is the finished result, is very much like the trial smile. There's very little difference. The copying of the anatomy is virtually identical. You can see left, right. I take my photos immediately after, as well as further down the line. I haven't managed to get him back yet, so you can see there is some bleeding on the gingiva. They are completely unedited photos. Here again, this is immediately after, on the day. I think I was getting tired, so I didn't bother blowing away the saliva. Sorry about that. There we go again. And what I love about this photo is you can see on the central is the beautiful texture, very natural, beautiful texture. Left from the right side, sorry, and the left-hand side. And you can even see a little bit of rubber dam that's stuck between the upper six, because I used rubber dam here. And there we are. And this is Matthew at the end, absolutely delighted. And he's already given me or sent me another 3 patients to do this on. So, you know, I think the quality of the work speaks for itself. More importantly, this was my first or second case, I can't remember exactly. And it took me an hour and a half. And I don't consider myself a massively quick dentist. So normally I would have said that would take me 4 hours to get to that point. This took me an hour and a half. So when they say you can do it that quickly, believe me, you can do it that quickly. Mide said something about marketing. Now, I'm not a big fan of marketing. I'm not a marketer. I am not someone who likes marketing. I like to avoid the public eye generally. So I actually want to talk more about something within the practice and what you can do to try and make and how you can make SmileFast kind of work for you more than anything else. So when I look at it, I think of it in this way, and I like to look at it from the business point of view. So we have traditional bonding, where we have photos, evaluation, impressions, wax-ups. Then the second one for a trial. Then we get 6 composite veneers and the placement. Then we got a polishing appointment, then a review appointment. Now I worked out that when I tend to do that, it takes me 5.5 to 6 hours on average, usually more than that. Well, sometimes more than that. And typically a lab bill for a wax up for over 6 teeth is about £180. Something along those lines, about £30 a tooth is what most people are paying in the middle range. And as I said, I'm an everyday dentist. I don't spend thousands of pounds on stuff. Yeah. And when I look at SmileFast, we have one less stage because we can do the photos, evaluation, impressions, and wax up all in one go because it's kind of all done digitally. The trial is done in one appointment and is a nice short appointment. And the reason it's short is because I reckon virtually 99% of my patients will love it first time. The the 6 to 8 composite veneers, and polishing, I can do it a lot quicker. And I would do that in 1 appointment as opposed to 2. And then a final review at the end. And total time, that would take me about 3 hours and a half. Yes, the lab bill is higher, but the amount of time we're spending in the chair is vastly, vastly reduced. Now, I've put a lab bill there for 500. That's 500 if you use absolutely everything that SmileFast has got there. So that's all the design stages. And then I go back and look at it from a money point of view. So typically I would charge £275 for a composite veneer, freehand. And over 6 veneers, that is 1650. Now I charge, this is my own personal charge, not what's recommended by SmileFast, but this is what I charge, 1,700. And working it out per hour, it's actually a much higher rate. You actually get, the profit is much higher. But more importantly than that is the cost of the PPE nowadays, the infinitely less stress, the less time in an FFP3 mask is going to make a massive difference. And I believe very strongly that the result will be, for an average dentist like myself, better in 99% of the cases. So that's what I wanted to share with you guys. Just one last thing, I do it with ortho as well. Now I do it in lecturing for Invisalign, so I've just picked this straight up from an Invisalign lecture. In terms of packages, I also charge this as well, for everything in it. So Invisalign with boutique whitening and ended lightening, the whole shebang, mixed in with SmileFast over 6 teeth. That's how much I charge. So you can quite easily integrate SmileFast into what you're doing currently. And that's everything. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Rajiv. That was brilliant. I think you've answered most of the points that I'm sure a lot of people are asking. Jasmine, over to you now. I think you were going to show us a little bit about the actual portal and how that works.
Sure.
And guys, keep the questions coming in because I've seen quite a few. We're going to do a 20-minute question and answer session shortly.
Can everybody see the screen, my screen?
Yeah, great. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, guys. So I'm just going to speak just for a few quick minutes about using the portal. So if you're anything like me, I'm not great at reading instructions before I try and do something. So this all went over my head and I managed to somehow miss quite possibly the best Google Drive link I've ever received from any course. So I've just put it here. Take a photo if you want to. Tom is going to speak about this in more detail, but this is such an amazing resource. There is so much information on there. So, but yes, I somehow managed to miss that myself at first sight. So I'm just going to quickly talk to you guys about using the portal and the process that you need to go through to upload your first case. So the first thing to do is to get the patient to fill out the SMILE evaluation form. That's more for your own information. It's not absolutely essential, but it is quite good because it gives you an idea of what the patient is looking for and where they're at in terms of cost, investment, things like that. Then you've got your patient clinical evaluation form. This is quite useful. It's a bit like the, doing an ortho assessment before you do an Invisalign case. It's a really good idea, not just medico-legally, but also because it alerts you to it draws your attention to making sure you're noticing specific things like midline, cants, shifts, that sort of thing, gum line, smile line. So it's worth just doing this, and it's such an easy form to use. It's really quick and simple. And then you've got your SmileFast photos. So it's 8 specific photos. Make sure that you're aware of what they all are so you don't miss one out. Classically, the one I always used to miss out was the full face retracted photo. It just wasn't one I was routinely taking. So make sure that you have those in your mind. This is actually from the laminated handout that you would have been given at the course. So dig those out. They're really great, and make sure you've just got it to hand. In terms of getting onto the portal, so there is actually a direct website. You can just type into the browser window, which is smilefast.app. But again, if you're like me and you might forget that, you can just go to smilefast.com and then click on the click on the order, track my SmileFast. That takes you to this window here, which then enables you to log in to the portal. Like I said, if you want to get directly to this, you could just go on to smilefast.app. So that then takes you onto your SmileFast dashboard. But if you then click on the patient list here, I've just blacked out the names of my patients, but if you click on the patient section at the top there, which is highlighted in purple, and then, sorry, my window of all of your lovely faces is blocking this. So click on new patient there. And then the system asks you to upload all of this information. So you obviously click on their first name, last name, date of birth, your email, and it helps if you're somebody who works at multiple sites. This practice center bit is quite useful because obviously, hopefully, you're going to be doing loads and loads of these cases. And if you keep them separate by clinical center, then if you've got admin team at each site that are helping you to track these, it's really good if you've got them linked up to the right clinic for you. And then that will take you on to this section. So you need to click on the patient file and upload all of this information. You won't be able to select any kind of treatment in terms of requests for the lab until you've actually done that. Sorry, I've skipped forwards. Until you've actually input all of that information. So you're going to put in the tooth shade, whether or not they're going to be doing some whitening. So remember, with the SmileFast system, they've got a really good value option that you can add in, which is if you want to do whitening for the patient, it's just an additional £50 for the lab fee, which is for the trays, and they've got 16%, 10% carbon monoxide or 6% hydrogen peroxide. So that's quite a good little extra, and it just streamlines things because you're not having to use a separate lab for your whitening trays and send them separate impressions or scans. It can all be done by the SmileFast lab. You can upload your patient evaluation form and your smile assessment forms, then your photos, scans if you've done digital scans, or just tick the impressions box. And then if you've got any additional files, say, for example, if you've got photos of the patient that they're trying to sort of get to, say they've got a patient or someone else or a friend who's got a smile that they are striving to kind of achieve something similar to, then you can upload things like that in that additional file section. Then there's a notes section, and then you save. Once you've saved all of that information, you're then in a position where you can select what you're actually going to request from the SmileFast lab. So in terms of these options, SmileFast Design, Refine, Align, Direct, you can actually pick which one you want. So just as a little reminder, because this was something I sort of kept forgetting in the beginning, what do these different system or stages of the treatment process actually mean in terms of what you're asking the lab for? So SmileFast Design, as I think the guys already touched on, this is an augmented digital 2D smile design, and it gives you the treatment plan options. So you send in some photos or a photo, and then you get something like this back. As Rajiv pointed out, actually this is quite handy because you get this back, you can have a little look, see if you like it. If you're not sure about the shape, the tooth shapes, you could maybe send it back and ask them to send you another one. So as you saw with Rajiv's case, he was actually able to send 2 different photos to the patient, and already without having any treatment stages done yet, he was able to pick what he wanted. So that's the first stage. The second stage is SmileFast Refine, which is where you get your 3D smile design, a printed model, and the trimmed putty stent for the trial smile. So this is really useful, obviously, for when you're doing that trial smile session. And then following on from that, so obviously the first stage, the design stage, we would advise everybody to do that stage, but you don't necessarily have to. If you feel that you're happy with your smile design process and maybe you've done a few of these cases, you could go straight to the refine stage, but you would definitely need to do the refine stage. And then once you're happy with that and you've finalized your design from that trial smile session and the patient's happy, you'd go on to the SmileFast Direct stage, which is where you get your lab manufactured precision stent with the separators. And also always remember, you've selected the shade that you want for this patient, so you're going to get all of the composite capsules that you need in that selected shade. So that's all included in the package that you're getting and that you're paying for. So just a quick summary in terms of what I've just shown you. there was a question, I think, earlier also about costings and RRPs. So with the SmileFast design, there's a lab fee of £49. There's a 3-day turnaround, 3 working day turnaround, although I think often they come back quicker. The cases are assessed and approved, and you get written treatment options along with your augmented 2D digital smile image. We recommend that you might want to charge the patient between £50 to £99 for this, just because it is quite important to get some level of commitment from the patient, and also some appreciation for the value of what you're actually doing for them, because often if things are just completely free, then they're not necessarily having to commit at all, or maybe not really actually appreciating the level of value of what you're doing for them and what you're offering. With the next stage, which is the refined stage, where you get your 3D model with the smile design and the putty stent, there's a 5 working day turnaround, and you've got the option of adding tooth whitening into that as well. So you could be then getting them to start their tooth whitening straight away from that day that they get their trial smile done. The lab fee is £99 if it's per arch per 6 teeth, and it's £199 per arch if you're doing more than 6 teeth. We would recommend that you would charge the patient between £150 and £250 for this stage. Again, get the commitment from them, and also get them to actually invest in the process from the beginning, because then you know that they are actually on board and they are understanding that there's a value for what you're doing for them. Once you've gone from that stage, you can move on to the SmileFast Direct. Again, another 5 working day turnaround for that stage. You get your custom-made SmileFast Direct pre-separated stent, 8 of the capsules of the Empress Direct Composite. You get Ultragate, and you also get the consent form. So in terms of the lab fee for this stage, for £450 you get it for the 6 teeth, or it's £350 for 4 teeth. We would recommend for the 6 teeth, you might want to charge between £2,000 to £2,500. If you're just doing 4 teeth, that might be £1,500 to £1,800. Obviously, there are other systems within other stages within the SmileFast options in terms of the alignment and indirect, but for the purposes of this particular webinar, we're really focusing on those first 3 stages, so the design, the refine, and the direct stages. So I think I'm handing over to Tom right now. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen.
Awesome. Thank you very much. That was very, very thorough. What I'm going to do now, guys, is go on to the Google Drive link and just quickly, very, very quickly, because we want to have a bit of time for questions and answers, just go through all the resources that are available to everybody once you've attended on the course, okay? So I'm just going to share my screen in a second. Okie dokie. So this, hopefully everyone can see this. This is the Google Drive link, okay? Now, what's actually happening is we're having the portal upgraded. So in the next 8 weeks or so, we're having a whole load of upgrades on the portal. So eventually, all this will be accessible on the portal. So it will all be in one place. But at the moment, you'll get sent an email when you attend the course. In your email, there is a link to this Google Drive, okay? So if everybody who's been on the course and they can't remember how to find all this stuff, just search Google Drive and SmileFast in your email search box, and it will bring up all the emails you've ever had from Joe and the team at SmileFast, and you will be able to find the link for this Google Drive, okay? So it's got a whole load of resources for you guys to use for your own professional development, and also for marketing and educating your patients. So we've got some befores and afters first of all. So I'll just quickly double click on this one. So these are all some awesome befores and afters, and you probably all recognize this case. This was Rajiv's case before and after, which I think is just absolutely beautiful. And there's one of mine, another one of mine, and this is a dentist before and after. So what you can do is you can use these on your Instagram, and you can put them as your banner across the top of your SmileFast pages if you do practice information leaflets and you want to put some SmileFast stuff in, and this is all here for you, okay? We've got all the branding, so this is just all our colours and our logos. This is the hidden folder. You have to click on clinical documents, consent forms, then you click on this one, then you click on this one, and finally you get into it. It's like a hidden folder on the computer, but this is where all the main resources are. So we've got all the different consent forms for the different parts of the treatment. So you've got the patient consent form for the SmileFast itself, the SmileFast Direct, and it talks about composite can stain and might need maintenance and repair, and there might be a little bit of bleeding from the gums, that kind of thing. So it's important to always have one of those signed. We've got the whitening consent forms in there. I think we've got some alignment consent forms, ceramic consent forms. There's the sequences for the burrs and the befores and afters. So this is a leaflet that you can print up and you can laminate and have down in reception. So it shows the patients the type of before and afters. And then this is the set of pictures that Jasmine showed us. So this is, again, this can be printed and stuck on the inside of your cupboard door. So when you do have a SmileFast case, you just open the cupboard, have a quick look to see which photos you're supposed to take, and then you make sure you always get the right ones, okay? So they're all on there, and there's also some information leaflets and various other things on here. So that's probably the most important folder as far as resources are concerned. Then moving along, everything you need to know about SmileFast. This is kind of like a summary video that I filmed that just kind of brings together all the questions that we got after the first couple of courses, and I'll try to answer them all in about a 15-minute video. So if you still have questions at the end of this webinar, just go back in. Sorry, my little boy's trying to break the door down. And go to the webinar, and then you can download this video and watch that, and it should answer most of your questions on cost and price and what stage does what, that kind of thing. Okay. What else have we got here? Yes, how to use the portal video. So Jasmine's just done a really quick summary of this. I'm so sorry. And this is actually a video I filmed, which is a step-by-step, and I actually load a case into it, and you can see how I drag and drop the pictures in and moving forward from one step to the next step to the next step. So again, it's about a 10-minute video, but it's a really good way of watching that and copying that the first time you use the portal, okay? We've got some lab slips in there. We've got the lecture notes. So we've got a PDF of our lecture with all our slides and everything in there. So all the information, all the evidence behind heating the composite and not curing the bond before placing SmileFast, all that kind of stuff is in there as well. We've got logos, patient-facing marketing. So we've got a lovely leaflet that we had designed, which you can have professionally printed. It's a double-sided leaflet, and you can fold it up, like concertina it up, and put those down in your waiting room. There's some posters in there as well. Everybody asked for this one, which is the single tooth hands-on video. So this is the live demonstration I do on the day of shaping and polishing down an overbuilt composite tooth and shaping it down. And this is yeah, so that's on there for you as well. Okay.
Move on, Tom.
And SmileFast suggested how much pricing. So there's a guide of what you should charge your patients. So that's on there as well. And then finally, social media. So we've got loads of kind of Facebook covers and Instagram bits to go on the banners on your websites. So you can send it all across to your marketing team, whoever does your SEO, looks after your website, and they can create a page specifically about SmileFast and start sending out to the patients. And I think this is one of the key things. The marketing is so important. It is a completely new concept. It is a completely new brand. And as soon as you start doing something different from everybody else, it becomes very, very visible on social media, and you start to get a lot of people ringing up and saying, oh, you know, I've heard about this composite bonding, but this SmileFast thing sounds really exciting. You know, it's an all-in package. Get all your teeth done in one go, reduce fees, reduce time. It's what people want at the moment. And we found it very, very successful, the marketing. And just like Mide said earlier, when you show your patient their own video and you film them really happy with their trial smile, and they show their parents or their friends, it's then those people that then come back to see you a few weeks later saying, I want the same thing. And you'd be amazed how many times you do a son or a daughter, or within 6 months you've got the mum and the dad coming in as well, and then you end up with the cousins and the aunties, and it just starts to snowball out. So once you get a few patients coming through the door, you really, really, really want to focus on marketing. You've got to take lots of photos, lots of videos, absolutely cover your website in real life feedback from real life patients, because that's what other patients want to see when they start looking at your website. And that's how you'll start to build the snowball effect. Okay, and now I've finished. He's gone. Can you believe it? So there we go. All right, I'll pass out. I'm going to mute myself now. Okay, I'll pass over to you guys.
Thanks, guys. We're just going to round up now and finish off. Miguel, I saw that your son made an appearance as well, so we'll be waiting for the next person to come on. We're just going to finish off with some questions, and then we'll just sort of finish from there. So, guys, there were quite a few questions, most of which I see that we've tried to answer as we've gone along. There's just one or two questions that I'd like specifically. There was one question on orthodontics, Miguel. I think it was, is there any integration of ortho pre-planning with Invisalign or any other system, I guess, and SmileFast?
So that's obviously something that we're looking to incorporating in the near future, which is the step of the SmileFast Align. There will definitely be a system to incorporate with aligners, so with all the treatment plan. Invisalign, don't know if you have a little bit more info about that, Mide, but definitely with a Smile True aligners, for example, it's definitely going to be an option to incorporate.
Yes, I do actually. So with Invisalign, most of us know, and most systems, with your aligners, each aligner stops at a certain position on the smile design. So each bit is a separate STL file. So if you say, well, I'm going to align the teeth, you can actually pre-design the end result from the final aligner. You get the STL file, you extract it, and you send it to us. Then that becomes the basis of your smile design. So I think the question is, can you pre-plan the end result? And the answer is yes. And you can do that with any system, as long as you can extract the STL file.
Can I just say also, at the initial stage, at the design stage, I actually use my Invisalign outcome simulator end result. I tweak that, and then I use that with the smile design templates to achieve the same sort of thing. So you can actually show them from the very beginning, even without having to go to that stage as well.
Fine. No, good question. There's a question, Tom, for you. Oh, I can ask any one of us actually. Will the SmileFast stent allow us to work past the canines, let's say 4 to 4, 5 to 5, dependent on path of insertion, alignment of teeth? And that's from Cheaton.
Yeah. So if the teeth are spaced, then we can take the separators further round. So we can do 7 teeth or 8 teeth if we've got the spacing to allow a single path of insertion, okay? But generally what you'll find is as you go around the arch, the angulations between the teeth start to change, and so it becomes impossible to have that single path of insertion further round than the canine teeth, okay? So it does very much depend on the case, but what we can do is we can SmileFast only goes up to 6 teeth, but then you can have an additional design for more teeth, and that can be included on the stent, but they won't be pre-separated. So you can place the front 6 teeth using the traditional pre-separated technique that we teach on the course, and then you can place the veneers on the teeth further around, but you have to use the every other tooth technique where you isolate the teeth with PTFE and you just restore one at a time, kind of like traditional way of using this type of stent-based system. But it does depend on the case, and I've done cases where I have done 8 teeth in one go, but it is all dependent on spacing and whether we can get that stent to go in with a single path of insertion. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, I think it does. There's a question, Rajiv, which I think you've answered, but I think it's a good one to sort of mention for everybody. So the question was, can you treat SmileFast if you have a missing tooth? So what happens if a tooth is missing? And you answer that one.
Yes, in short. I do have a case, I haven't got the pictures fully done yet, but where I had a patient with a lower I did upper and lower SmileFast composites. It's part of an ongoing restorative case, but they have a lower missing incisor. I actually asked the lab to not separate where the space was, and I built it into the actual stent, and then I've taken then I've cut it off and sent that to the lab to basically copy for shape, size, and color, and it's worked out really nicely. But yes, you can absolutely do it with a space. That's not a problem.
That's really good. I think that one, Rajiv, that'd be good if we can post that. Or
yeah, when I get the photos, I'll send it to you guys. But yeah,
I think that's a really useful thing. Mahesh asked a question. I know Mahesh was one of our first adopters. He asked a question about the case that I did. I'm not sure if it was clear, but it was an orthodontic case. So I retracted first to redistribute the spaces, and then we built up facially. But general rule of thumb, we try to have at least 1 millimeter of coverage of the composite. There are places maybe up at the cervical margins where we can go thinner, but particularly over the incisal edge, we want at least 1 millimeter, perhaps 1.5 millimeters as well. But we also find that by placing the composite in one increment, it's incredibly strong. It's not like you're adding little layers upon layers upon layers and adding oxygen on each layer. It's one solid piece. And if you think about it, anything as one is going to be stronger than layers upon layers of the same product. Good. Are there any other questions in particular that anyone else has seen? I'm just reading through. There's one last thing to sort of announce, and then I will open up for further questions. So obviously, due to lockdown, we've had to reduce our access to courses. We did one in Birmingham, but I think it was literally just before the lockdown was officially announced, and we haven't done one for 3 or 4 months. But I'm pleased to announce that as of today, we are opening up some new dates, which I can share with you. We're going to be opening some dates in both London and in Edinburgh. So the London dates are going to be, give me 1 second.
And Manchester.
Oh, and Gary's just chucked in Manchester as well. So the London dates are going to be the 31st of July, Saturday the 1st of August, and the 2nd of August. The reason we're going to have to do it over 3 days is because of social distancing, and also sitting on one table would be too close. We need to spread it out. So that's the first weekend dates, and we are going to have smaller courses, but still as interesting nonetheless. And then the Edinburgh dates are the 14th and Friday the 14th and the 15th of August. So a couple of weeks after in Edinburgh. And the Manchester date, Gary?
That is going to be Friday the 7th of August.
So they're Friday the 7th of August. So at this stage, we're putting it out there. We know that there's been a lot of interest in people booking in. So we're making these dates available. We will obviously look at dates. We may be able to offer more. We may be able to be flexible on dates as well. As well as that, we had 2 courses booked in Stockholm in May, I believe, which unfortunately we had to cancel. But at the moment, I think Martin asked the question, until there's an air bridge, unfortunately, I don't think we'll be coming to Stockholm until that's clear. But the feedback is that things are going to open up fairly quickly. For those people that are happy to travel from abroad to the UK, please let us know, because we'll make special accommodation for you, and we'd love to have you over. I think a few people have already said they're keen to come from abroad. In terms of questions, guys, just looking, I think, is there one more? Yeah, so there's one question from Rabina. Rabina, and the question is, if there's a chip on the SmileFast composite once it's done, is it better to repair it freehand? And Ahmed, I'm going to ask you to answer that question, if that's okay. Did you hear the question, Ahmed? I don't think you did. Tom, or can you hear Tom?
Tom's muted.
Yeah, Tom's muted as well.
I'm back. Yes, I would say the good thing about SmileFast is when you're doing 6 teeth in a row, it's very, very difficult to get everything looking perfect.
What was the question?
Sorry, slight delay. Tom's answering it, and then you can answer straight after.
it's very difficult to get all the teeth perfect in one go. Get the shape, proportions, the buccal lingual position, the incisal position, all that stuff is taken care for by using the SmileFast stent. So you haven't got to think about all those things. So if a chip occurs, it's nowhere near as complicated as if it was to be done right at the beginning, because you've got all the other teeth in all the correct shape and sizes and proportions to work from. So it's much easier to do a repair. It's much easier to do what Mide did, drill back in and add a little bit of more opaque dentistry if necessary, and then do some surface texture, because everything else is done. So I tend to do repairs and things like that freehand. However, if someone was to have an accident and they were to break 2 of the front teeth on a glass or something like that, or they fell over and hit their face, then you've always got the stent to use. Even if the separators have come out of the stent, you can still use the stent as in every other tooth technique to replace the missing tooth surface that's broken. So always keep the stent just like you would your working models. So I think it's important to have that as part of your record keeping.
Yeah, 100%. I think that answers the question quite well. Right, guys, again, I've shocked myself. We've actually managed to finish pretty much on time. I feel like we've covered all of the salient points. I'm sure there are more questions. Please feel free to contact us on info@smilefast.com. Go onto our social media, Facebook and Instagram, and please interact with us. First of all, I'd like to just say a massive thank you to Jasmine, Miguel, Rajiv and Ahmed. I think you'll all agree that they bring something huge to the team. Their knowledge is incredible, and I'm really, really excited for the future with these guys. So probably can't hear it, guys, but massive round of applause from everyone to you. And secondly, she's so modest, she doesn't really like being centre of attention, but to Joanne Dickinson, because without her, SmileFast wouldn't even be there. There she is, look at that. And please give a massive round of applause for Jo. And she hates being called Joanne, so that's why I called her Joanne.
Thank you.
And finally, to everyone that's sort of taking the time out of their day and on Father's Day, I'd just like to wish you all a happy Father's Day. SmileFast is really going somewhere, so it's not going to go away. It really is here to stay. We'd love you to all be part of it. Any feedback, any advice, anything that you think it needs to be better, we're all ears. Look out for more courses. Look out for different teaching styles, because we've got a couple of ideas that may help us busy clinicians that can't get out of the practice as well. Tom's alluded to it. We're already looking at going further back to the posterior teeth. We're also looking at a full mouth solution. These things need thinking about, not just saying. So that's why we're taking our time. Gary's just mentioned as well, this is fully recorded. Out of respect for the people that have registered, we're only going to really release it to the people that have attended and registered. So those of you that weren't able to stay but registered in advance, we'll send it out. And then in time, we'll look to do something like this again. One of the other concepts we're thinking about is maybe doing some in-house training as well. So again, with the team, we'll look at possibly introducing that. So I think without any further ado, I think Rajiv's daughter might want to say goodbye to everybody. But without any further ado, I'd like to thank you all for giving up your Sunday. Happy Father's Day, and can't wait to the next one. And let's kick Corona in the ass, and hopefully we'll be back up and running very soon. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks,
See you all later.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.